Hey guys, it's Adrian. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to bring you a spoiler-free review for A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. I've talked about this book a couple times already on my TBR and my book haul videos, but I wanted to let you know more about what I feel and why I feel it. If you have seen any of my other videos, you know that I wasn't a huge fan of this book, but let's just jump right into the review. To start off, this book follows a boy named Adam and a boy named Julian. And Adam and Julian, a couple years ago, were foster brothers. And they were separated for one reason or another, and they meet up again when Julian starts high school. It talks about the development of Adam and Julian's friendship and what happened to Julian in the past 4 years. One thing that I will say that I think is very important to know before you read it, that I don't think was said enough, is that there are trigger warnings for child abuse in this book. And not just a little bit of child abuse, but a lot of child abuse. And the more you read the book, kind of the worse it gets. I am very sensitive to child abuse, which I think is the biggest reason why I have an issue with this book. But Julian has been struggling the past 4 years, and you can see right off the bat that things are not going well with him. Adam has decided to help him from the school psychologist, and their friendship develops from there. As far as the plot goes, I think that the plot was set up very well. I have to say, when I started reading the story, despite the child abuse, I was interested in finding out what happened to Julian and the relationship between Adam and Julian and why he was separated from Adam. And I was interested in Adam's life, and I was interested in all the characters. So I think that the plot in itself, it was reasonably paced. I think it was okay. It was an interesting book to read. I didn't DNF it, despite my sensitivity to child abuse. So I think that says a lot about the plot, and I can understand why people really loved this book. One of my biggest issues with the plot, and I don't think this is a spoiler, if it is, I'm really sorry, but the story went from being this story about friendship and about struggle, being in the foster care system and child abuse, to being like a psychological thriller. And I didn't quite get the reason for making that switch. And we were also given some half information about one of the characters that made that switch kind of unbelievable, or not unbelievable, but it made me not appreciate it as much, I think. And I can't really talk about more about that because of the spoilers that are in the story. If you have read the book, then you might know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read the book, then you'll figure it out along the way. But despite the issues that I have with the plot, if I look at the plot alone without any of the other aspects that I'm going to talk about, I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good plot, and I think that she set it up to be a wonderful story. Kind of in relation to the plot, let's talk about the writing, because I kind of combine these two into the same. Because I'm so sensitive to child abuse, and this is my own opinion, and if you love this book, I'm very sorry I didn't like it. Because of my own anxiety about child abuse and my own sensitivity to child abuse, I feel like there has to be a good reason to write about it. And I can see what Robin Rowe was trying to get out of the story, what she was trying to come across, but because of my sensitivity and because I'm looking for a very cut and clear reason to write about child abuse, it didn't come out well for me. I feel like the point behind the story was lacking, and I think it came down to her writing. I feel like there was a lot of plot holes. I feel like there was a lot of character issues that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But when I got to the end of the book, I found myself very disappointed because I was looking for this strong message that I don't think came out very well, and it came down to her writing. Because like I said, and I'll keep saying it, I totally understand what she was trying to accomplish with this book. It just didn't come out well enough for me. And that's why I gave it such a low rating. I ended up giving this book, if I didn't mention that already, a 2.5 stars, because it seemed like, regardless of whether or not it's true, she used child abuse as a plot device, and she used the child abuser as a villain, and that was it. And I don't appreciate that. That might not be how she intended it, but that's how it came over to me personally. And that's a big no-no for me. That raises all kinds of flags, and I know a lot of it has to do with my sensitivity, but that's just how I felt about this book. One of my other issues with the book is the fact that there are some things that are going on in school that other people should be noticing. The first one is right in the beginning of the book. Julian talks about him having a special room in the school that nobody knows about. And what I don't understand is, how can a boy be just randomly disappearing and nobody having a clue where he is? Why are there not hall monitors? When I was in high school, we couldn't get out of our class and walk in the hallways without getting in trouble. One of the other issues that I had with this book was one of the teachers. This teacher talked down on Julian, and she kind of did that to everybody, but how is it that nobody says anything to this teacher about it? Now, I get that this actually happens, and so I appreciate that she put it in here, but there was no resolution. And along those same lines were her characters. I loved Julian. This was the Java and Librarian book club pick for the month of July, and I'll leave a link to the live show down below, but we talked about the writing style, where she kind of flip-flopped writing styles between Adam and Julian. That didn't particularly bother me. I could appreciate that. Her writing style, I think, was okay. I was interested in the book, like I said. I kept reading the book, like I said. My issues with the characters were that they had some serious mood swings and they had some serious flip-flopping. In particular, there's a character called Charlie in this book, and he's kind of aggressive, like almost to the point of abusive, aggressive to Adam. He's one of Adam's friends. But later on in the book, he makes a decision that I'm happy he came to that decision, but there was no information of how he came to that decision, what led him to change his mind about certain things. There's also a girl named Emerald in this book who is one of Adam's friends, and she had the setup for a wonderful story, a wonderful backstory that was not even touched on in this book. I do think that these characters are very complex in Robin's head, the way that she decided she wanted to write about them, but they didn't come out well, and I think that comes down to her writing style. For Charlie and Emerald, because I feel like there's so much more that went on inside Robin's head when she was writing this book, I think that they would make fantastic companion books. And I'm not a huge companion book fan, but I feel like there's so much more to these two characters in particular that we didn't get in this book that I would have loved to know more about. One thing that I will say about the characters is I loved how sensitive they all were to Julian and how accepting they all were to Julian and how much they all tried to help him. I think that that was beautiful, and it showed Julian that people care about him, which I think is important and was the point of this whole story. I know I have a lot of negative things to say about this book, but I will say this. This was Robin Rowe's debut book, and I do see that she tried to get a point across, and I did enjoy her writing, and I did enjoy the book to a certain extent. I will be reading another book from Robin Rowe because I feel like she has so much potential, and I feel like her next book will be developed better and the book after that will be developed better. So I will be picking up more books from her because I see her potential, and I'm not knocking her as an author altogether. I think that she could write a wonderful story because of the potential that was in this book. This just wasn't a book for me. And like I said a million times in this video, this is my opinion. I haven't made that many book reviews lately because there haven't been that many books that really impacted me in a positive or negative way. And this is one of them, so I wanted to talk about it. I just let you know what I thought about it because there are so many rave reviews. It's nice to hear about people who didn't like the book and why they didn't like the book. At least I like hearing about why people didn't like books, so that I'm not going into a book just because it's only been raved about. And I'm not the only one that didn't like it. A lot of the people in the Java and Librarians book club didn't like this book either, so I don't feel too guilty about not liking it. But regardless, if you haven't read this book, I think you should pick it up and read it and come up with your own opinions about the book, because my opinions will be different than yours. That wraps it up for this spoiler-free review. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the book if you've read it, because I definitely think that this information is worth discussing about, and I'm totally open to discussing my opinions with you. I have no issues with it. So leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye!